And welcome into the show once again. And our guest at this time is literally one of my favorite guests. We've had him on a number of times over the years promoting his various books. He's the former governor of the state of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura. Jesse, it's great to have you on the program once again. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. I'm doing well. I just got back to the country about 3 weeks ago after my usual winter in Mexico, and I did something unique this year in Mexico. I went to a faraway lagoon with some Mexicans, and my wife and we went out in a small boat and were able to physically touch gray whales in the wild. They come up to you.
For the people that don't know, you spend part of your time in Mexico, and I love how you categorize it, that you live an hour from pavement and an hour from electricity. You literally live off the grid.
Yeah, my house in Mexico is completely solar. I went from January this year until 3 weeks ago. I did not watch television at all. And as I said, you get life experiences down there. You truly live life within the range of what you see. And that becomes nice after a while, and I think it's a good break to take. I'm 61 years old now, and it's fun to do. It's fun to still be able to go on an adventure or two.
Well, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and I think, Jesse, we've had you on with every one of your books. This is your seventh book. The book is, and it just came out on paper book, available at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Of course, you can get the ebook version as well. Democrips and Rebloodlicans, and this is, of course, No More Gangs in Government, his latest venture with Dick Russell. This is your seventh book, and all of them bestsellers, and this one just as good as the rest of them.
Well, yeah, and I'll have one more out this fall. I've decided to do a murder or a book because it's the 50th year anniversary of John F. Kennedy's death. I'm going to do a book on JFK's murder, and the reason for that is that I wanted officially in the record of history that Jesse Ventura, the 38th governor of Minnesota, does not believe the Warren report nor the, quote, official report from my own government on the murder of John Kennedy. And I felt the only way I could do that was to write a book about it. Then it'll be down in history. So hopefully we can talk in the fall on that book again, too. I think it's going to be out October 1st. But, getting back to this one was interesting to write for me because it was it's two favorite enemies of mine, the Democrips and the Rebloodlicans. As you know, I've been elected twice. They haven't beat me. I beat them. But I have to deal with them, and that's one of the reasons I only do one term, because it means you got to hang out with these people. And whenever I get done with one term of being elected, I kind of feel like I need a shower, so I take it. I leave office and go back to the private sector.
And the interesting thing about the paperback version, which again just was released, Amazon.com, or you can get it at Barnes & Noble, and the ebook version as well, is it was updated to include all the information from the 2012 election, and just some fascinating things in here once again. But people always say that a third-party system won't work, and we haven't had a good third-party candidate since Ross Perot. But I like in this, you don't want any parties. You don't want a third party, a fourth party, a fifth party. You don't want any parties.
No parties. I fell into that trap until I realized that the system they've created of bribery, the elected system's all bribery. If you do that in the private sector, you go to jail, but in the public it's fine. Any third party in which to compete will have to corrupt themselves in which to do it. Well, you've already got a two-headed monster. Why would you ask for a three- or four-headed monster? And so I'm advocating the abolishment of these political parties, and we could start off with the most simple thing. You know what the most simple, fair thing could be? Why are their names on election ballots? Print just the candidate's name.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Then you finally have to actually know what the guy's about.
Jeff, it's done on purpose so that you don't have to be informed. If you're conservative, you go to vote, you don't need to know the name of a candidate. You look for the name Republican. If you're a liberal, again, you don't have to know who the candidate is. You look for the name Democrat. Yeah. If they'd remove the names from the ballots, then it becomes imperative for us as citizens to educate ourselves. What does, quote, John Smith stand for? Now, the political parties could still endorse. They could turn them into what they are, political action committees, special interests, whatever you want to call them. They could still endorse the same way the teachers union does, the police federation does, anything like that, but don't put their names on the ballot.
Yeah, my family's weird, Jesse. My father's about as conservative as could be. My brother's about as liberal as can be, and I actually fall, like probably most Americans, somewhere in the middle, socially liberal and financially conservative. Because again, I don't want them spending my money, and so I vote for people from different parties, like I think most Americans do. I think the lazy thing people get into is they'll just vote straight party, and hey,
Yeah,
I vote for all the Republicans or all the
what you're doing
Democrats.
isn't helping either.
Yeah.
Because it should show you clearly right now, if you simply vote back and forth between the two, you're still going to get the same government. It's like Jerry Garcia, the late Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead said, if you're made to pick the lesser of two evils, it still means you're picking evil.
Yeah,
and no, the solution's as simple as the nose on your face, but it's as difficult as climbing Mount Everest, and that is this: stop voting for them.
You should hear the debates around our dinner table where one of my family members will blame the recession on it's Bush stuff. It takes a while to get out of it. Then the other side will say, well, Obama's kept us in it. I mean, they're both responsible.
Yeah, absolutely, they are, and there's no difference. Both sides are bought off by the same corporate powers and the same special interests. If you go to the Democratic and Republican conventions, you'll see the same lobbyists there with their suitcases full of money. They've bought off both sides, so they don't care who wins. It's kind of like being able to bet on both fighters, so you win either way. That's what they've done. They've spent the money, they've bribed both sides off, and so they're going to win either way. And until this country realizes that, we're going to get the same government. Because when I taught at Harvard, I taught a class that I called How Pro Wrestling Prepares You for Politics. And it really does, because what they're doing is pro wrestling. In front of the cameras and in front of you, they hate each other. Behind the scenes, they're all going out to dinner, they're doing their deals, and they're ensuring their two-party dictatorship continues.
Jesse Ventura is our guest. His book has come out on paperback. It's Demo Crips and Rebloodlicans, No More Gangs in Government. And Jesse, one of the guys that you sort of have championed over the years and mentioned in the book is a guy that I know a lot of younger Americans really have fallen in love with, and that's Ron Paul. The problem is that, people will get a hold of Ron Paul and the things he say, and they try to position him, as a loon, someone that's so out there that he could never do anything.
That's mainstream media. Their job is to destroy Congressman Paul. Look at how they wouldn't cover him during the Republican primaries. He would finish second, and they wouldn't even talk about him. Yet they talk about Rick Santorum, who got 1%, of the vote. No, that was done all by design to marginalize Ron Paul. And isn't it also interesting that all these young people are attracted to the oldest candidate?
It's remarkable.
Ron Paul was the oldest guy in there, by far. And yet he's the youngest thinker, though. He may be oldest chronological age, but Ron Paul's mind is with the young people's minds. So they were able to get past that and realize, this old guy thinks like we do.
And that's
why Paul had such power with them. When I won in Minnesota, I won greatly because the young people got behind me and came out and voted, and the old people and the Dems and Repubs didn't think that college kids would vote. They're too busy, at Animal House partying. Well, I got them out and voted, and I ended up beating the Republican and Democrat, and they were stunned. They couldn't figure out how I could galvanize the young people and the college students.
And that's the thing that always bothers me when I will champion, the causes that you bring up. And of course, you're never going to agree with everyone all of the time, but your thinking is a lot like my own. And what people will try to do with people like yourself is, well, they'll try to say that you're a conspiracy theory nut, or he's too far out there. He thinks the government's against us, and they try to twist your words and making it look like you're in a bunker someplace.
These other people think the government is with them.
Yeah.
I mean, in light of the fact that they keep millions of documents they classify top secret that we can't see. They've now been caught. The whistleblower is shown. They've got us all under surveillance, and yet they tell us they need to do this to fight the war on terror. Well, in other words, what they're saying to you, when Lindsey Graham, the senator, says that to you, that means he considers you a potential terrorist. So they consider every American citizen a potential enemy and terrorist. Whatever happened to the thought process that we're the boss?
Yeah.
They work for us. See, they've gotten us to believe that we work for them, and that whatever they do, we have to accept. And that's wrong. They work for us. We provide the money. And like when people say, well, we need these secret things. Well, certainly, as a former Navy frogman SEAL, I know certain things as they happen have to be kept secret. But when the event's over, why then can't we see what our government did?
Yeah, Jesse Ventura, my guest here.
And the fact that we pay the bills, we have every right to know what they're spending our money on.
Yeah, and Jesse, that's my question for you is with the way it is now. I mean, it's the worst recession since the Great Depression. You've got bankruptcies and poverty numbers all-time highs. Isn't enough? Can it be fixed?
And find out. Did you know the upper 1% of 1%, the ultra-rich, during the 2008 recession where we all lost money and all lost wealth, their wealth increased 5 times. Now, that tells me they orchestrate it so that they can get wealthier. They have the power to control the economy, the dollar, the Federal Reserve, and all that. And how could the upper 1% of 1% increase their wealth 5 times over when all the rest of us lost wealth? Our homes went down in value, everything.
Yeah.
That should speak volumes to you.
Are we too far gone?
Who are not harmed by it. It ain't because they're smart and invested right. It's because they control the system.
Are we too far gone?
They make these recessions happen every 10 years like clockwork.
Yeah. Is it too far gone, though, Jesse? Can it be fixed?
Not if we decide to stop drinking the water.
Well, how do we get you on a ballot? That's what we need.
Well, you can. I already laid the gauntlet down. I said, but I have to see it, and I won't spend the bribery money. I only raised $300,000 to become governor of Minnesota. They never like to talk about that, do they? But anyway, that aside, I said that if grassroots out there would get me ballot access in all 50 states, and if they could reasonably guarantee me that we'd riot if I wasn't allowed in the debates, because you've got to be in the debates to win, I told them I've said that I will give serious consideration to running. But if I do run, I will run with no political party, and here is my entire campaign. First of all, my campaign slogan is, I can't do any worse. And my second campaign that will win the thing is that I will challenge the American people for the first time since George Washington, the father of our country, to elect a president that doesn't belong to a political party.
Oh, that'd be great.
I
would just love to see you in the debates.
Jeff, I think you could win on that.
Yeah, I'd love to see you in the debates, because I think you'd win on that.
Oh, I know I would. Hey, I beat him twice. I always tell people if I can debate him, I can beat him. They got too much baggage. And you know what the key to the debates are? You want the secret?
Give it to me.
It's amazing. I tell it all to you. Here's the secret to the debates. You want to hear it?
I'm with you. Give it to me.
Here's the secret. When you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
And you've laid it all out there. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I tell the truth. If I don't know something, I'm not afraid to say it. I did that in the debates in Minnesota. They asked a question about this thing, the IRRB, which is the government within the government up in the Iron Range. I grew up in South Minneapolis. I didn't even know what the thing was. And in the debate, I just looked at the crowd. I said, I'm sorry, I don't even know what this is. I don't know. And there was like a 3-second pause, and the crowd erupted in cheering and applause. Simply because a candidate admitted they didn't know everything.
Jesse Ventura is with me for another moment or two. His book is back out on paperback, Democrypts and Rebloodlicans, also available on ebook. You can get it at barnesandnoble.com or Amazon.com. One issue that is rampant around the country, and I wanted to get your thoughts on, especially here in St. Louis, we border up against Illinois, and a lot of people that work in St. Louis or in the surrounding area live in Illinois, and the gun laws, gun control, and especially the concealed carry laws have been real prevalent in the news here because Illinois, one of the few states in the union that doesn't allow it and is actually very, very strict on it, but now they are fighting that in their state legislature. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, gun control. It's a very, hot button issue.
Well,
it's a hot topic issue, but I want to get your take.
First of all, let me give you the humorous answer. Since it's such a hot button item, we should have a little laugh at it, shouldn't we, too?
Definitely.
All right, here's my humorous response. My definition of gun control is standing at 25 meters and putting 2 rounds in the same hole. That's gun control. When you can do that, then you understand complete gun control. Now let's get serious. First of all, the Second Amendment is not there to protect your hunting and fishing rights. It is there for you as citizens to have a mechanism to stand up to your government if the government becomes oppressive or if the government turns into Nazi Germany. That's why it's there. Now, people will say, how could we possibly stand up to the U.S. military? Well, that's the defeatist attitude, because there was a little country called Vietnam. We dropped more ordnance on them than we did Europe in World War II, and all they were a bunch of rice farmers with a couple of AK-47s, and they withstood everything we could throw at them. Okay?
Yep.
Now, people need to understand genocides. In the last century, there were, I think, 6 genocides committed where governments mass murdered their people. They were all done in countries where the people couldn't have guns and had no way to defend themselves. Now, I'll give you my next example. I was physically in the Philippines when Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and became a dictator. The first thing he did, I was there, he gave, I believe, the Philippine people like 2 weeks to turn in all their guns, or it was the death penalty. Now, why would that be the first thing a dictator would do? Disarm the public. Follow me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Now, they're destroying our Bill of Rights. Everyone, the Wall Street people, the protesters, whether you agreed with them or not, you should have supported them because all they were doing was exercising what was their First Amendment rights. They got ran off with pepper spray and dogs, didn't they?
Yeah.
And now they've passed laws making it against the law to protest. How can that be when the First Amendment guarantees you that right, just as it guarantees you the right to own a firearm? So the point I'm getting to, and now they've got you under surveillance. There goes the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
If we systematically allow them to continue, and each has their agenda. The liberals have got the Second Amendment. The conservatives have got the First Amendment to get rid of the Wall Streeters. So you notice how they both choose their battles, but the ultimate goal is the same: destroying the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, there's been a lot made in Missouri, Jesse, about the and I'm a concealed carry owner. There's a lot of noise being made of who has access to the list of people in Missouri that have a concealed carry weapon or a permit to at least have one.
What I love? I love these places in Minnesota that have a sign, "No guns allowed."
Yeah.
Well, that's the dumbest thing they could do, because if you're a law-abiding conceal and carry, they're asking you to separate yourself from your weapon. So you got to leave it in the car and go in there. Well, then when the crook breaks into your car and steals your gun, then you got a criminal with a gun on the street.
Exactly.
Because and the other thing, why don't they just put up a sign that says "Rob me"? There's no protection here.
Yeah, there's no guns here.
And let me finish by saying this: it's high time we put protection in our schools, because it's obvious that these mass murders of our children are going to continue. It's not the gun's fault. As much as the media has tried to blame the gun, when I have a gun safe, I've never heard my guns going off when I come home. It requires a human element. Someone must pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And the point being is that let me hit you with this. Here's a question I always tell people. What do we value more, our children or our money?
Yeah.
Well, everyone will answer your children, but that isn't true. The reality is we value our money more. You know why? Because we have an armed guard at the bank protecting our money. We have nothing in the schools protecting our children. Now, you don't have to have armed guards walking around the school, and I might as well bring it out in the open because they won't do it anyway. I said this after Columbine. I said, you've got thousands of police officers, retired and military retired, highly qualified. You hire them as janitors, but they're not really janitors. They dress up like janitors, they sweep the floor, but they're carrying ankle holsters. The kids don't need to see it, only the principal needs to know.
My last thing was, Jesse, is I was trying to make a list of all the things I know that you've done, either professionally or just in your life. Father, husband, Navy SEAL, wrestler, announcer, Harvard fellow, author, actor, radio host, TV host, mayor, and governor. And I'm probably missing about 10 things. My question is, what's next? What else do you want to do that you haven't done? Because, I mean, it's like you've lived 10 lives.
Now it's whale whisperer.
Yeah, whale.
That's what my wife calls me now after our trip with the whales where we touched them down in Mexico. Physically, 40-foot gray whales. I put my hands in their mouth out in the wild.
Crazy.
And this is from a boat. This ain't underwater.
You've lived like 10 lives, though.
I don't know, but anyway, so whale whisperer's got to fit in that description too. I don't know. I guess the only thing left is president, isn't it?
It is, Jesse. We need to get you elected. Hey, and St. Louis is a big wrestling community. I'd be remiss if I didn't just at least let you talk about the good old days just for a moment. I know you're probably not tuned into what's going on or anything like that, but I think probably as a family, man myself and having kids, I like the movement of what they've done, going to a more PG format. But it is certainly different from the days when Jesse Ventura was not only wrestling, but I think the greatest heel announcer of all time, Jesse Ventura.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, the business, like anything, is going to evolve.
Yeah.
Vince is going to go the direction that it needs to go to be successful. And I mean, take a look at today, what the world our kids grow up in. It's all cartoon characters.
Yeah.
And it's all feats. I mean, the few times I'll turn on wrestling now, I mean, they start chopping meat and punching each other right from the start. And
you know what? Hulk Hogan, though,
anyway, cutting meat. And there's no, to me today, there's no in the ring true storyline. It's just controlled chaos.
Well, Hulk Hogan owes.
I'll tell you what it is. Actually, our wrestling has taken the turn of becoming Mexican wrestling.
It is.
That's what Mexico's wrestling was for years and years, and their wrestling is now actually overtaken ours because we're wrestling like what the Mexicans used to.
Well,
because I remember back in my heyday, they actually had a match in Mexico. This guy fought the Invisible Man. He went into the ring and threw himself around, and they had a thin nylon like fish line on the rope. And somebody was actually under the ring, and they pulled the rope down so the crowd couldn't see it, so it looked like the Invisible Man was getting into the ring.
Oh, my God.
And they only did it once.
Well, I'll tell you, Hulk Hogan owes
the direction it's taken.
Hulk Hogan owes you and Bobby Heenan some money because he needed a spoiler, and he had one in both of you.
He owes me money? No, he doesn't owe me any money.
No, I'm just saying, he made Hulk. You helped make Hogan because he needed a villain.
Himself. I was on board. We were all part of it. It was
I know.
In the mid-'80s, Vince had an idea and a dream, and a bunch of us went along with it. We put our careers on the line because we were told that if we failed, we would never wrestle again back in the 26 territories. And it was brutal. I mean, it was very serious stuff. It was, no, it was a combination of Vince being young, aggressive, having a vision, and surrounding himself with the right people who could make that vision happen, and I happened to be one of them, but Hogan was the kingpin. I mean, he was Hulkamania and all that other nonsense that went along with it, and it was all of us doing it. It wasn't one person that carried the load on the thing.
The book is Democrips and Rebloodlikins, available now at BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com on book or ebook. Jesse, thank you so much for your time today, and we will definitely talk to you in October. His new book is They Killed Our President, 63 Facts That Prove a Conspiracy to Kill JFK. It's going to be due out October 1st. You can actually do pre-sale copies online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So if you want to pre-order versions of that book, you can do so as well there. Jesse, thanks so much for your time. Again, we love having you, and we'll talk to you again in October.
Thanks, Jeff. Always my pleasure, and look forward to doing it in October. And maybe, hell, between now and then, I might find a new occupation.
Well, you're running out of them. Thank you so much, Jesse.
I'll be pro golfer, though, although I'm trying.
You're trying.
All
Thanks,
right,
Jesse.
bye-bye.